state that I am aware, as the Honorable Distinguished Senator who just sat down stated, is that almost 80% of the business of the House is transacted at the committee. And what happens in the committee of the whole is what has been largely transacted in the committee session. I feel and I understand the situation that the distinguished senator from Nyamira, my learned senior counsel Okongo Mogeni, the comments that is made, the reservations that is made as regards the list that has been presented by the minority. And I know, as a practitioner of law, that an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. From the part of the majority, I am aware that we have tried and practiced that which is just, and that is the basis upon which I am supporting this motion. I would only wish to encourage those who have been nominated to the various committees that the task ahead is not a small task. The business of the House entirely relies on their commitment to the cause. The business of the nation is entirely reliant on that which they will be doing. And I believe that the selection to the membership of the various committees have been put in consideration of the qualifications and the commitment of the members who have been selected. I wish to request them, as I undertake on my part, as one of the members who've been selected to a committee, to do the best in order to ensure that the business of the House is transacted with utmost good faith, so that we enhance the status of this House and we serve the people of Kenya. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, next is Senator Olekina Ledama.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity. I'll try to be as brief as I can. The principal function of committees is to perform the task that this House seated here cannot be able to perform. Our job in committees is to be able to investigate, scrutinize government policies, particularly the executive, and in this House, our work is to be able to oversight on county governments. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues' sentiments notwithstanding, I know in leadership, being able to satisfy everyone's desire is something which is very, very challenging. So, Mr. Speaker, I come from a school of thoughts that believes that it is a little bit self-defeating when you come and you lie in your dirty linen out in public. Mr. Speaker, whatever challenges that we might have as a coalition, Mr. Speaker, those are teething problems which we understand. We deal with them when that time comes. And I think the key, most important thing, Mr. Speaker, where I come from, is if I have issues, and I think we've already been shown, we've already been told that, campaigns were over. But, it's a little bit hypocritical when some of us stand here and still continue campaigning, issuing threats. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to beseech this House to support this motion in its entirety. I think our standing orders are quite clear. And then when the time comes, and our standing orders are quite clear, parliamentary parties have the privilege to be able to nominate individuals to the House Business Committee for them to be considered in each committee. So, Mr. Speaker, time will come when we'll be reviewing this. There'll also be time when others will be de-whipped, just like I was de-whipped in the last parliament. So some of these things are normal, Mr. Speaker. Some of these things are normal. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to beseech my colleague to let it rest. We move on, and we start scrutinizing government policies. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator
Mr. Speaker, I wanted to make 2 quick points. The first one, these committees, Mr. Speaker, are going to consider motions and they are going to bring legislative proposals so that we can pass them in this House. Now, Mr. Speaker, the habit of government and the habit of institutions has been to treat legislation that is passed into law with utmost care, and they respect it. But on the other hand, Mr. Speaker, motions that are passed in this House are treated like mere persuasions. Mr. Speaker, in fact, when you today sent and committed statements to be considered by departmental committees, Mr. Speaker, those statements are going to be looked at in a very serious manner, and reports are going to be brought here with recommendation. Maybe we will approve a motion arising from those statements. Mr. Speaker, departments of government have not been giving motions or resolutions of this House the kind of respect that it requires. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to request the leadership of this House that we bring amendment to the Powers and Privileges Act. Any person who does not respect motions and resolutions of this House, Mr. Speaker, should be treated with penalties that are going to force them to obey the resolutions of this House. The final thing, Mr. Speaker, I am very conflicted. I had my learned friend and classmate, Mr. Senator Okongo Mogeni from Nyamira, saying a lot of things, Mr. Speaker, and I share in his feelings. But, Mr. Speaker, Standing Order number 199 advises us and directs that we have to accept the list in whole or reject the list in whole. We cannot maybe pick 1 or 2 senators when it is nominated as a list. So I'm conflicted, Mr. Speaker. The advice I would give is that we need to get doing the business of the House, and as they try to resolve their issues there, Mr. Speaker, I support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Let us have Senator Kamau Joseph Geduku, Ramu Senator.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice into this very important issue of our committee. Mr. Speaker, much has been said about how these committees operate. Mr. Speaker, I, as a new member, Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate the leader of majority because of the way he has highlighted how the committees works. Mr. Speaker, I personally wish to support this motion, Mr. Speaker, that we pass and we make progress, because, Mr. Speaker, there are so many things that are lying behind, and we need, Mr. Speaker, to move forward. Mr. Speaker, I come from Lamu County, a county that, Mr. Speaker, has a lot of issues when it comes to security issues. And, Mr. Speaker, I want to say this, that I have been elected into different committees, and I will work, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that my people benefit out of the committees that have been, actually, Mr. Speaker, been placed. One of the committees, Mr. Speaker, I have been kept into the Committee on Security. Mr. Speaker, every member here in this House, Mr. Speaker, knows that Lamu has been, for a very long time, been having the issues of security. And, Mr. Speaker, the only way that I will represent my members or my people in Lamu is only I being in that security committee. Mr. Speaker, education also, Mr. Speaker, has for a long time been left behind in Lamu. And, Mr. Speaker, this time around, we need to make sure that Lamu, Mr. Speaker, is kept in the limelight in terms of education. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, good people of Lamu sent me into this House so that, Mr. Speaker, I can come and represent them accordingly, so that, Mr. Speaker, development can be realized in Lamu. And, Mr. Speaker, without fear, I want to state that I will work for them, and I will do as much as I can to make sure that I work for them, I work for my people, and, Mr. Speaker, I wish to support that these committees, Mr. Speaker, must and should be passed with an immediate effect so that, Mr. Speaker, we make progress. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, I support.
Senator William Cheptumo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this motion. And, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that if you look at the Standing Order 228, it is able to show us, Mr. Speaker, that these committees are very, very important in oversighting the executive in the manner in which the taxpayers' money is spent. And, Mr. Speaker, even areas of concern, Baringo County, Turkana County, and some of those counties, Mr. Speaker, where we have insecurity, where we have drought now, like in some areas in Northeastern, Mr. Speaker. These committees, Mr. Speaker, shall play a critical role in being able to stand with the public and be able to sensitize the government to respond to the situations that are affecting us, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, I just want to say that the committees are important because it is the only way that this House shall be able to function and address the needs of our people. Mr. Speaker, today alone, 2 members of this House, Mr. Speaker, that is Honorable Wambua and the Senator Machakos, were able to raise 4 statements to the various committees, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, already we are late. These are issues which we need to address as soon as possible. And so, Mr. Speaker, I support that we need to pass this committee as soon as practicable. And, Mr. Speaker, when I listened to my learned colleague, the senator from Kisii, he was able to clearly demonstrate, Mr. Speaker, the unfairness that is being practiced on the other side, Mr. Speaker. And though I don't want to really be part and parcel of that particular